Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We're actually recording in the evening here for the first time here on the Trip 4 podcast. Welcome to it if you're new. This is episode 5. It's the first time we've been back in the studio for a while, but just to introduce ourselves.
I've been a little here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. We'll get to some of the reason for that. But anyway, my name is Mark Ashby. I'm just a bowling dad, I guess we'll call me. Although I do have a Belmo hoodie to prove it.
Supporting
anyway,
Belmo.
And you are?
I am Trevor Ashby. I'm his son. I am the PBA Tour bowler and the show expert.
Yes, he's definitely going to be way more expert on a lot of stuff than I am. But we got some things that we got to dive into. It's been like really since we've sat in here. It's been probably over a month since we really had a formal show like this. The last one we did, if you didn't get a chance to check it out, was our road trip out to Vegas for the Masters.
That was a long haul.
That was a long haul. We'll talk about that maybe just a smidge, but we got a little more to talk about here in the Headpin. Okay, obviously, for the Headpin, I think the main thing that we need to talk about is there have been 2 big tournaments that have been on the PBA calendar since the last time we were here in late March. So, first, let's talk a little bit about that trip out to Vegas and how that went, both the bowling and just other things that were going on. Let's talk about the Masters this year, 2024 Masters.
Well, let me tell you, I didn't bowl my best, but I could tell you I had a blast out there. The whole, because like you know, you're in Vegas, and you know it's just kind of one of those cities where you just got a different feel.
Yeah, we've been there before. It had been a while, but
I've been there
a few times.
This would have been my 3rd time being
there.
I
would say because you did an SYC out there, Storm Youth Championship.
Actually, that's a lie. This would be my 4th time because I did 2 out there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, my bowling, it started out like, you know, whenever you're 36 hours in the car, it's pretty hard to get your legs underneath you. It's like, and plus you got a 3-hour time difference.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, boo-hoo, I know. But, I mean, it's some of those international players, I don't know how you guys do it. But my bowling was definitely subpar. It wasn't very good. But it wasn't to the point where I was like, you know, so upset that I'm like, you know, wishing I'm not there.
Right, you weren't like so minus that you're like, I need to just.
I was
find
217 under, but I mean, in 15 games, it's not great, but I mean, I wouldn't call it god awful. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely less than what I would like, but I got the chance to room with a couple different people.
Not just a couple. You had 6 in this house.
I had 3 different people.
Yeah.
We had. Obviously, Brian Robinson, I've talked about him before, the face. That joke is still running, by the way.
The face of
900 Global.
Here he is, folks.
Yeah, he's been with Global forever, and it's just kind of like the face. He could tell you more about it, but it's... I had him. I had Thomas Larson, PBA Major Champion, who actually won this event a couple years ago out in Reno, Nevada.
Right state, wrong city.
Yeah, same state, wrong city.
It's kind of cool to room with a past champ.
Oh, yeah, and we were definitely talking about it. And I had Tim Stampy, who is another guy from Denmark, and yet another one from Denmark, Matthias Ankerdal.
Yep, Matthias. Sorry if we're saying your name wrong.
Sorry.
I've heard you say Matthias, so I'm going to go with that.
That's
what I was
so another guy from Denmark, and obviously we had another West Virginian, Kyle Davey, who actually lives not too terribly far from us. He's about 40 minutes.
Yeah, roughly. Down the road about 40 minutes that way.
Yeah, and so we had 3 West Virginians and 3 Danes. So it was it was pretty cool. We had a nice Airbnb. It was a pretty. It wasn't cramped. I mean, for 6 people, it wasn't that bad.
It was a nice house.
Yeah, it was a very nice house.
Check the last episode. There was a little bit of...
it was definitely a big house. It was big enough for all of us. We all had kind of our own space.
Right. But as far as, being at the center, and you had 3 days guaranteed of bowling. So,
which I liked.
Rather
and
than have these PTQs,
session.
plus practice session, right?
Yeah.
So as far as, you talk about how you did, how did everybody else in the house do?
Well, everyone else in the house... we had, excuse me, everyone kind of had their ups and downs. I had my second block was definitely my best. No, it was my third block. My third block was definitely my best. I went minus like 20 or 30 that block.
Mm-hmm.
But Brian, he did pretty well for starting up, and then he just kind of lost it towards the end there. But he was definitely the best out of all of us. And Thomas was right there with him. And Tim and Matthias, they were definitely showing that they belong out here.
Yeah, it was worth the trip over.
Yeah, definitely worth the trip over. And congrats to everyone who did well there.
Yeah, so we have to talk about the winner of the Masters this year, first timer.
D. Ron Booker, let's go.
fellow Storm
staffer. Yeah, he definitely.
What a story that was. That was so great.
Bowled his you know what off. He definitely bowled very well.
You were still on the way. You were driving. You were on the way home, right? Driving on the way home while that was happening.
Yeah.
We were watching at the house here. And it was
I was
great
in the middle
to watch.
of Nebraska watching that show.
And just having him and Patrick Dombrowski, a couple
new timers.
Yeah, so we knew we were going to get a first time winner in the champions spot there. But I personally loved it at the end whenever D-Ron won. I mean, he said, "I'll be Kimberly Pressler here." And kind of recreate it. I don't know if I'm.
If you guys don't know who Kimberly Pressler is, she's the one that does the interviews post game.
Right. Yeah, or in between, whatever. So she said something like, D-Ron, with all of the that you have been through here this week, did you ever imagine yourself in this position?
He said something along the lines of like, with all the help of these people, and yes,
the hard work I put in. Yes. He just said yes. I was like.
Yes.
All right, that's what we want to hear.
Confidence. We love confidence.
Yeah,
because who's going to say no?
Right, and you're sure that because he came up through PTQs like you had.
Yeah.
So that was amazing to see that.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
So
I mean, I didn't really personally see him bowl too much, but what I did see him bowl, it was definitely he throws.
Was he on your squad? He wasn't on your squad. Was
no, I never got a chance to watch him bowl in person, but on the TV show, I was thinking, well, he's number one seed for a reason. He bowled very well.
Yeah, he did. He came in because they take top 64, and he came in at 50 something.
He didn't qualify terribly high, but he went undefeated in match play.
Undefeated in match play. That's
and
all
on TV.
Need. Yep.
So
that's what you need. So then you're driving home from Vegas and had a little just brief detour to talk about what happened in Utah on the way home.
Oh, boy.
They have deer in Utah on the side roads, and this is the time of year that they're coming out. Well,
may or may not have hit one.
He had a little encounter with one. The car was still drivable.
Car's
luckily.
Fine. I drove it all the way back. It just got a little dent in it.
But State Farm is, dealing with that with a local collision shop. But
not a sponsor.
Yeah.
No, it's because I was driving on the we were going off of some back road to get gas in the middle of Utah, and my mistake. I thought, oh yeah, we're gonna be like,
they didn't plan this well, folks.
Yeah, I was like, nope, that's totally my fault. Which was like, oh, there'll be gas on I-70 somewhere, and then nope, not for another 72 miles. I have like 50, 60 miles.
In the dark. They're in the dark now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Not too much. Well, I don't know if it was much after sunset,
dusky.
But it was,
Yeah, and then we had to go off some back roads, and then I see this, herd of deer, then another one, and then the next one I see is there's 4 or 5 of them, and then one just runs out, just opposite direction of the other ones, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, this is the wrong way. And I hit it at 30 miles an hour. I mean, I didn't hit it lightly.
Luckily, the airbags didn't go off.
And we're all safe.
Yeah.
Everything's good. So,
unfortunately, the deer probably wasn't. But
no,
anyway.
I felt bad.
All right, neither here nor there. But then you came back. You had a couple of days here, and then the next event was
the World Series of Bowling up in Detroit, Michigan.
No rest for that because you were up there the next weekend.
Pretty much, yeah. I only had 2 or 3 days here. It wasn't much. And then it was just back on the road. But that was definitely better than my Masters performance.
But now we're back at having to do a PTQ.
Yeah, now back at doing PTQs. And this time it was a little bit of a longer format PTQ where it was instead of 5 games, we had 10 games, and one on one pattern, one on another. And so we had 5 games in the morning. That would have been that Saturday, last Saturday. It was we started on Wolf, 34 foot, had a decent amount of hook to the right, so you kind of could just throw it at the gutter and it would just it would come off. And so I started with the IQ 78U, the urethane ball, and it looked good for the first game or two. I shot 268 in my first game, so it was definitely more than good the first game. And so I definitely felt good with that. I wanted to run with it as long as I could. But then game 3 hit. It was just kind of that transition game where it's just like, urethane's a little bit too hooky, and then the resin ball doesn't want to get down. Yeah. So I switched to a Tour Dynamics briefly, Roto Grip. That one looked okay. It was enough to get to the pocket, but not really get the 10 out. So that was just kind of okay, we're going to try this briefly, and if it doesn't work, we're going to go to this. So then I went to an Attention Star, which was another Roto Grip ball that we're actually going to talk about later. And it's definitely it definitely got down the lane a little bit better, so it had enough drive to get through the pocket. So that was my plan on short, and I went +9. I had 268. I had a couple middle rough ones, and then I came back with 244.
244, yep.
Yeah,
so you got back.
So I saved myself to +9.
Mm-hmm.
And so next round in the evening, we had a lot of work to do, and it was on the Badger pattern, which was not 52 feet like the old one, where your ball would just sit and just stay. So this one actually had a little bit of motion to it, but so it was 47 foot, and the plan was just kind of like, well, the center hooks a lot, so we're going to throw some weaker equipment. And so we started with a virtual energy blackout, the VBO as we call it, which is very, very good on stuff like where they hook a lot. And so I was just like, well, if we throw that, it'll be our plan. And I rode with that as long as I could, and I mean,
you had a better block.
I definitely had a better block. I went like +50, 60. I got myself to like +65 or something for the 10 games. So it was definitely my highest block so far at any PBA then was +65. So it wasn't enough to get through the PTQ, but definitely bowled well. So
yeah, well, as long as you're happy with it, that's
the main thing. At first I was just like, well, I mean, I'm averaging a lot, and I'm not quite getting there, but I'm still bowling well. So that's all I can care about.
So I guess since that was sort of the last main PBA, like the national tour for the year, we can kind of just do briefly a little sort of wrap up. Like, what's your takeaway from your first full season out there doing this, trying to
be a sponge, man. It's all about just learning and just taking as much in as you can from the pros, from your tour reps, from everyone else out there that may give you advice, and rooming with some of with Thomas and B Rob and everyone. It's definitely
hearing them bicker, as I understand.
Hearing them bicker is pretty fun, and it's it's a great opportunity I have, and I can't thank you guys enough, really.
What's the best piece of advice that you got, or the best lesson maybe that you learned, something like that?
Well, the obvious one is make your spares.
Everybody knows that.
Like, you need to make your spares.
I'm a bad bowler, and I know that much.
But if I were to take one piece of advice, have fun with it, because there's not many people that are gonna be out there in your shoes that are gonna, people in that situation are dying for that opportunity, and I'm grateful enough and lucky enough to have that opportunity, and it's a pleasure to be out there. And so really my thing is just have fun with it and don't beat yourself up too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, at 18, I'm just proud of seeing you do what you're doing, because not every 18-year-old, whether it's in bowling or not, just
I'm the youngest one out there.
has the guts to do it. Well,
Sure.
I mean, there's some young guys out. I mean, Dio Bernard just won.
He just won the Cheetah.
Yeah, the Cheetah. So there's some.
He's 20.
Yep,
Yeah.
some young guys out there.
Young
So
talent.
it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and hopefully you'll be a part of that in the years to come. But we're building slowly here. It's not a
I
big
don't
deal.
need everything right away.
All right. Well, that is kind of the wrap up. We'll be, going on to regionals and local events and stuff. So
Everything
still have plenty-
that I can make a little money here and there.
yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about on that front later on. Okay. Well, I know this is one of the more popular things that people like to look at, but in the 2-pin segment coming up, we're going to have a special segment for you with another prop. Two-pin ball review time. Okay, we've got another ball here. It looks like
Roto Grip.
I was saying, I think it's a Roto
Where's
Grip
the
ball.
logo? Attention Star. Yes.
It's down there. There you go.
Yeah, it's
You probably can't even see it, but
no, it's pretty faded. But
we were just talking about this in the last segment.
this is the same ball that I actually used. It's I can tell you this thing is probably my favorite ball right now on the market.
Oh yeah, because the coil that we talked about last time, you seem to really enjoy that.
I
one
do
too.
like that one, and then this one is definitely, I mean, for like a weaker asymmetrical, which I'll give a little education here on the asymmetrical weight blocks. Whenever the ball is, there's the core inside of the bowling ball is like, it's, if you cut the core in half, you're not going to have the same weight on either hand.
Right.
So that's what makes it asymmetrical. It can look symmetrical, the shape of it, but it can be weighed different. But the whole thing about this ball is like, even though it's symmetrical or asymmetrical, it reacts like a symmetrical, for me at least.
Okay.
To where like it doesn't want to, like, sometimes they want to just, what we call locking up, where it just kind of wants to, most asymmetricals for me do this, where it's like it wants to just kind of start here and just want to do that. Like, it doesn't want to have that nice hook. It just kind of wants to start hooking instantly and just kind of.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but those tend to do that. This one doesn't. So.
So what's it good for? What's the kind of pattern?
It's good
you might
for
do?
if it's a little bit, I wouldn't say drier conditions, but like medium dry. Or like if you're, this would be like a game 3 ball. Like if you're bowling like a 5-game block, this is probably what you break out game 3.
Okay.
And maybe 4, but not to where they're completely, like, all the oil's gone, but there's still enough oil to be pushed down the lane. Because this ball wants the hook. It definitely wants the hook. And the versatility on this thing is really insane. To where like you can play any part of the lane with it. It would, like, you can throw it up 5 and throw it 7th arrow. Like it'll do what you want. It'll do what you want. And so I love it. It's on the market right now, I believe. So go get one today. It's pretty good.
We just saw one being used in the Shark. We're recording this right after the Shark Championship got done. Congratulations to EJ Tackett.
Yes.
That one. We were kind of pulling for Shota on that one, but anyway, I did see
EJ's a great
Attention Star
bowler.
out there. Was it Simo that was using it? Who
Simonson was
using
using the DNA coil,
Okay.
but those two are pretty similar in my mind. But
Okay.
this one definitely takes a cake for my favorite ball on the market right now. So,
Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
that is high praise.
Yeah,
Because I know
that's
he
great.
can be critical. Critical in the sense of, like, it's maybe not a ball for me, but I can see who it would be good for.
Oh yeah. Oh, this would be
You
good
test
for
these
anyone.
things out for a long time.
Oh
before
yeah,
you
I have
really-
so many bowling balls and so many that I've thrown that some of them work for me, some of them don't. So
All right, ball review is done and dusted. I think it's time to move on to the 3-pin now. Three-pin now, a little bit of Q&A. This isn't so much submitted by anybody, but I think it's something that I know
may stir up some questions.
I know the answer to it, but if you look at Trevor's logo and you can see it in the intro outro to the show. He's got his initials there, but there's also you'll see kind of down. I think it's in the right corner somewhere, wherever it is on there. There's a semicolon. That's kind of an odd thing. You would think, what is that doing in a logo? Some of you might know the significance of it, but there is a special significance to having a semicolon in his logo, and I think I'll just let him talk about it.
Well, somebody who was very close to me, my brother Nathan, who had some mental health struggles in his high school life, and still does today. A semicolon means like you're continuing on a story.
Right. You didn't put a period.
You didn't put a period at the end. So like I had suicidal thoughts.
You had a pause.
Yeah, I had a pause. I had suicidal thoughts or actions. He didn't have any actions, but he did have thoughts. Mm-hmm. So there was that pause right there, but he put the comma there, kept going.
Right.
So that's really what it means. I had suicidal thoughts, but I didn't act on them. So and thankfully that never happened. And so really that's just kind of a symbol that says like, hey, I have I've never been suicidal or anything, but I've definitely had some anxiety, some depression, and stuff like that. And it does hit home whenever people say like, oh, like you struggle from this stuff. Like, oh, I do too. And then you're trying to break the stigma.
Yep.
You want to make sure you don't want to hold it in. Like, you want to just say, hey, this is my struggles. This is what you should know. And I'm talking about it. So we're talking about it now.
Right. Yeah. And I think, maybe in a later show we'll talk about this a little more, but there have been some athletes, pretty high profile ones, in the past few years who have talked about, not necessarily with the semicolon, but talked about like the mental challenges that you face as an athlete, and how a lot of people don't really understand that. But in the context of our family, I mean, ever since Nathan, he turned 22 this year, and basically half his life we have been trying to figure out this sort of how we're going to navigate this in his life.
Yeah.
And we've gotten various diagnoses. He's very open about this. That's why we're able to talk about it. We're not speaking out of school here. He has been diagnosed with bipolar type 2, which if you know something about bipolar, it does mean that there's mood swings. I don't like to think of it as quote unquote manic depressive, because that's what a lot of people kind of give it the wrong name. Bipolar just means you have some highs and lows, maybe more than other people. That is, if you're unmedicated. And Nathan does go through that. And he has what's kind of known as fast cycling bipolar, whereas some people, it might take them, months. They might have months of a high and then months of a low. His is more like a few days that are high, and then he's mostly in the middle, and then he'll have kind of a crash.
Yeah.
Those have been, as he's gotten older and as we've gotten strategies to deal with it, it's gotten a lot better. But you and Nathan have been really close your entire lives.
It's weird. Like there's not many siblings that get to call their brother their best friend.
They don't fight.
Yeah,
I'm serious. They don't fight.
Did.
I wish I had fun stories about them, like beating each other up or something. But they don't. Like there just isn't. They've always gotten along, which they're almost 4 years apart. They're a little over 3.5 years apart, so they're not exactly like close in age. So.
Well, it's just like the semicolon just has that little message where if anyone knows, it's like an if you know, you know.
Right,
situation.
Exactly. We would kind of want people to see that. And maybe some of you have seen it on his logo and wondered if that's what it meant. Now you know.
Yeah, it's definitely a big symbol. It's a big message. And if anyone wants to talk about it with me publicly, I'll talk about it. It's
publicly or privately.
Publicly, privately. If you guys want to, talk to me, if I'm just out and about or run anything, talk about it, I will.
We've learned a thing or two over the years. So,
oh, yeah.
But just know that if you or somebody that is going through something like that, you're absolutely not alone. There are people all around you who are dealing with mental health challenges.
And people, and it does kind of scare me that people just hold it in. And, it's like you need to get things off your chest, like it's
whether that's a family member or therapy or whatever it is.
Whatever, yeah. It's it's just one of those things where it's just like, oh, talking about it could make it better. So
that's the big message. Just, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to talk about it.
Don't
Somebody's
be afraid, and
there's
there's always something behind every story. So,
all right. Well, thanks for that little, tidbit into our lives here. Maybe you know a little bit more about where he's coming from too, and I'm sure it'll come up again down the road. But we're approaching the end here. We're rapidly approaching what I would consider the limit of this episode, so we better get on to the 4-pin. The 4-pin this time is not going to be about bowling. A lot of what we did on the road trip out to Vegas, most of it was not about bowling. But since right after the PTQ, a day or two after that, there was a big celestial event that happened. Maybe you heard about it. There was a total solar eclipse that came over parts of North America. And since you were heading back from Detroit and would kind of be driving through the path of where that was going to be.
I'd basically be driving straight through it.
Yeah. You and I kind of decided, well, let's see if because where we live here in West Virginia, we were going to get pretty good coverage. It was like 93%, I think they said, was where we were living.
But we want the full thing.
Right. And I'm 50 years old, and the next one is supposed to be in 20 years or so. And I'm like, if I'm 70, who knows if I'm even going to be here. I had never seen a total solar eclipse before, so we decided we're going to take the chance because there was a chance of cloud cover. But you know what? Why not take the shot? It was only about around 4-hour drive from where we live.
For you, I stopped in Pittsburgh for the night.
Right, yeah, and then we kind of backtracked a little bit.
I was fine with that.
To go, but we found ourselves, we decided to go, we didn't want to go too deep into the path because we knew traffic was going to be bad.
Yeah.
So we wound up stopping in, of all places, Warren, Ohio, which is a little bit outside of Youngstown.
It's a little bit outside of Youngstown because Youngstown would have barely had some coverage.
Yeah, we weren't sure if we'd seen it for very long there, so we thought, well, let's get in about another 20 miles or so. But anyway, Warren, Ohio is where we got it. Now, the video that I'm about to share here was from where we were in the Harley Davidson, the Warren Harley Davidson parking lot next to the Walmart.
Funny thing about that is because, well, we were going to drive a little bit further into like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of looked at me and said, why can't we just stop at this Walmart?
Because there were people sitting in the
just sitting in the Walmart
with their lawn chairs out, with their glasses on.
Yeah, and it was, and I just felt bad for the people that were inside shopping.
Yeah. So we got when we pulled in, it was already starting to get covered. We pulled in. I think what do we say? The moment of totality was around 3:15 or something like that.
I think it was 3:16.
We pulled in about 2:30, so it had already been starting for a while. But anyway, here's a video that is totally not going to do justice because I'm just using an iPhone camera. But this is what it was like when we got under the first time I had seen and you had seen a total eclipse. I believe it's about to happen. I'm going to turn it up this way. I believe it's happening. I believe it's happening. There it is.
There we go. That is neat.
I don't know if you can tell, but we are at total eclipse at the moment.
Totality, baby. Look at the rings around the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta zoom in, but you can still kind of see the sun. All right, I'm turning this off so I can look at it. I don't know about you, but that was quite spiritual. Like,
oh yeah.
It went on for about, I think it was like 2.5 minutes. It was
about
where we were.
2.5 minutes.
And just being able to stare up at this thing, and there was just a little bit of cloud cover, like it just enough to make it kind of a haze, so you couldn't really see it completely
you could still
clearly.
See clearly.
You totally saw but you couldn't see, like they always say, like look for the solar flares. You couldn't make out anything like that. Yeah. But luckily, all the heavy clouds were kind of to the east of us, so we really got lucky. What did you think of it?
Well, I thought it was freaking cool. I was thinking, what else am I gonna say? It's like you drive 4 hours to go see this thing where it just lasts 2 minutes, and then people are like, "Oh, I would never go that far for that." Oh no, it's worth it.
I pity you if that's what you thought. I mean, I seriously don't understand. And, if this is you, I mean, I'm talking to you, but I really don't understand how something that significant and that rare could be happening, and you just kind of go, eh. like the people that were driving on the road, just driving through and not even caring that
that's what I didn't understand. I was like, just pull off in the Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's incredible. I've always been kind of a space nerd, like astronomy geek.
I kind of have been, too. I always found that stuff pretty cool. And, unfortunately, we won't be around for the Andromeda Galaxy coming by and swinging by and crashing.
A billion years or so,
yeah. I was like, way more than that. And I just thought, like, you had all this build up, and then you just see it getting darker and darker and darker, and then you just kind of see it just, all of a sudden darkness.
It is completely different from 99 to 100.
Yeah, I was like, at that point,
totally
just drive
different.
the extra 15 minutes.
It's totally different because it still shines a fair amount of light. It looks kind of like dusk, but then when you get to it covered up, you're on another planet.
Yeah,
that's how it feels.
It really feels like you're on another planet.
So I would suggest if, there are going to be other total eclipses in the world, but the next one in North America.
There's going to be another one this year.
Yeah, down in Latin
Africa.
America. Yeah, well, I think it's Southern Hemisphere somewhere, I believe, or further south than here.
Jump on a plane.
Yeah, but go see one. I mean, it's just the coolest thing.
If you get a chance, if you're in the area for one.
Is there a bowling ball called the Eclipse? There should be after this. Let's get on that, SPI.
Let's go, yeah.
Before we get to the next episode, we kind of a little teaser here maybe. You got something going on this weekend. It's not necessarily something you're competing in, but it's something kind of fun that you're going to be doing.
Well, I'm heading back up to Michigan, this time not Detroit, not Grand Rapids, Lansing, the capital of the state, where I'll be at Royal Scott Golf and Bowl for the SYC event. I'm not bowling because that'd be illegal, but I will be up there volunteering my time to help out and watch a little bit, and maybe you'll see me on the live stream. Maybe
getting in the booth, with Blair and anybody else that might have
Leanne,
to be there,
whoever's in there, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun to go up there, and because it's the only one I can really get to, so I'm just like, well, might as well volunteer my time a little bit and help out a little.
What a guy! Yeah. Anyway, look for that next time. Make sure you take plenty of content while you're up there. But
I'll try.
That'll probably be the one of the front two segments in the next one. If it's not the Headpin, then maybe the second one. But anyway, that is the Trip 4, Episode 5. So, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, do all those cool things. Trendy things. That's what he always says. You kids know what to do, and you other bowlers. If you have any questions that you want to send to us, you can email them to us at the trip4 podcast@gmail.com. We'll be happy to answer them. I know sometimes this guy over here, not me, throws out some jargon that maybe you want some answers to, or just anything else, like, what's your favorite ball?
My bowling lingo becomes a different language.
Yeah, or just anything that you might want to know, whether it's bowling related or specific to Trevor. Then send them in, and we'll be happy to answer them. But in the meantime, have a great time out on the lanes. Trip some fours. We'll see you next time.